I met with Eddie's father Barry this past Friday in New York, and it was a good meeting. I'm hopeful that they will get back to me this week and that something can be done to make the fight in the fall. I'm optimistic. There are still some roads to cross, but hopefully it will happen and we'll see the fight this year. If we're going to make the fight, the place where it will take place isn't going to be the problem. We have no problem going to the UK. It never was a problem. Deontay has never had a problem with that. Those are the words of Shelly Finkel, the co-manager of WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder. Boy, I'm relieved to hear Team Wilder making these kind of noises now. Positive noises. Optimistic noises. I'm relieved. I'm happy. I'm hopeful. Because I just want to see the fight get signed. He did say that the location of the fight is not the issue. Wilder has no problem fighting in the UK. But he also kind of implied that there are still some obstacles. And if the fight don't get made, it won't be the location, it will be something else. Well, what else can there be? Money, right? I'm making an assumption here, but I think it's a fair assumption. If you pay Team Wilder enough money, they'll go to the UK and they'll sign the fight. That seems to be what it is. So, how high is their price? I guess is the question. And not only how high is their price in the first fight, how high is their price in the second fight? Because all the talk from Hearn and everybody else has been a 2-fight deal. So let's say Wilder gets, 35% in the first fight. Will he get 65% in the rematch? Because that's what he originally wanted, right? He said he's happy to take whatever split Joshua want to give him, as long as in the rematch, the split is reversed. So is that what they're negotiating for now? Or at least trying to get close to that? Is that what this last little hurdle, stumbling block is? And people say that Joshua's greedy and Hearn are greedy and stuff like that. Maybe they are greedy. People say that they don't have the moral high ground for whatever reason. Okay, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying this is what other people will say. But in boxing, having the moral high ground is pretty much irrelevant. It would be great if it was relevant in an ideal world, if whoever had the moral high ground was in the position to dictate. But that's not how it works in the real world. That's certainly not how it works in boxing. Morals don't come into it in boxing. The only thing that comes into it in boxing is financials. Who has the financial high ground, the financial upper hand? That person, whether they're in the right or in the wrong morally, that person gets to dictate terms. And that's the position that Team Joshua are in. They're in a position where they have the financial high ground, and so they can dictate terms. And it seems that Team Wilder have finally come to that realization that, yeah, they've negotiated hard. They've tried every trick and tactic in the book to try and get more money out of Eddie Hearn, and maybe they have got more money out of Eddie Hearn. We don't know what Deontay Wilder's being offered behind the scenes. Everybody's talking about what Joshua's been offered, and that's been making headlines, and everyone's making videos about it. Nobody's talking about what Wilder's been offered behind the scenes, because we don't know. We know initially he was offered 12 million by Eddie Hearn. That was the opening offer. We have to imagine that the offer has gone up since then, that Wilder will be getting more than 12 million if he fights Joshua in the UK. But how much exactly, we don't know. We might never find out. But as I say, promising signs from Team Wilder. They're making progress. The fun and games are over. They've now got down to serious negotiations. Previously Wilder's team had refused to meet with Eddie Hearn. And maybe Shelly Finkel still doesn't want to meet with Eddie Hearn. Maybe that's why Eddie Hearn had to send his dad Barry out to meet Shelly Finkel. Because maybe Finkel just wouldn't meet with Eddie Hearn after the whole Shirley stuff and all that business. Who knows? But either way, finally some positive signs that this fight might actually get made. It might not happen this year. And it looks as though it's looking increasingly likely that Joshua and Wilder are actually going to have interim fights. That they're not going to fight each other next. That Joshua may fight Povetkin and Wilder may fight Brazil, and then they'll fight each other in December or in February, provided they both get past their next two fights, because that's not a foregone conclusion. Particularly Joshua's fight against Povetkin, that's a dangerous fight, right? Brazil, he's a strong guy, he's got power, but he's very, very slow. You would imagine Deontay Wilder would have enough speed and enough wherewithal to dispatch of Dominic Brazil. But it will be interesting to compare Wilder's performance against Brazil to Joshua's performance. You know, so many people, Wilder fans, believe Wilder will wipe Joshua out. Well, styles do make fights, and boxing is rock, paper, scissors, but it will still be interesting to see if Wilder can deal with Brazil as easily as Joshua did, or if he has a lot more trouble. I suspect that Brazil might last a bit longer against Wilder than he did against Joshua. That's my suspicion. I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe Wilder will blow him out in a round. It's possible, he's got the power. But I suspect Brazil will do a little bit, you know, he'll last a little bit longer against Wilder. That's my suspicion. I could be wrong. We'll see. And Povetkin against Joshua, there's a potential for an upset in that fight. I'm telling you now, there is potential for an upset, and there's also a situation where, you know, that fight could take place in Russia, and Joshua definitely don't want that. He definitely don't want that. I doubt Joshua will be willing to do what Wilder did and go over to Russia and face Povetkin. Obviously, the Wilder-Povetkin fight never happened, but Wilder was willing to do it. His team were willing to do it. Obviously, it was a much bigger payday for them than they'd ever got before. But maybe the payday for Joshua against Povetkin will be bigger than he's ever got before. Right? Because Ryabinski, when he goes into purse bids, he bids crazy amounts sometimes. So, you know, we'll see. He would probably have to bid make an even higher bid than he did against Klitschko to pay Joshua the kind of money that he's never had before, because Joshua's been paid 20 million for a fight before, and above 20 million. And the purse bid Ryabinski put in for the Klitschko Povetkin fight was about 23 or 24 million, something like that. So, yeah, it would have to be higher than that to be Joshua's biggest purse and to really make him want to, you know, come out of the UK and go to Russia for such a risky fight. Obviously, he won't have any choice because this is mandatory. But then again, could he vacate a belt? Potentially, we might see that. If not, then Joshua's going to have to give Povetkin a very, very favorable deal in terms of a financial split in order to get Povetkin to fight him in the UK. But that's a dangerous fight. You know, that is a dangerous fight. And the reason I'm talking about their next fights is because I want to see the unification. You know, I don't want to see anything get in the way of the unification. So I'd prefer if Joshua and Wilder could fight next. But it's unlikely they're going to fight in September because of pay-per-views. You know, they've got the potential Canelo pay-per-view in September. Nobody's exactly sure what's going on with that. And they wouldn't want to clash in America in terms of putting on a pay-per-view between Joshua and Wilder with another big pay-per-view that month. So we'll see how it goes, but there's at least positive signs now from both teams. They seem to be getting on the same page finally, and hopefully the fight will get signed. Even if it don't happen next, they're talking about potentially signing it in the next 3 weeks, and you know, having their interim fights and then announcing the fight between them after they've hopefully come through their interim fights. So we'll see what happens. Let me know how you feel in the comment section below, people. It's happening. I'm out.